Question?
Coach, astronomically, you're the best field goal percentage at the rim of any game this year.
Yeah, let's see.
90%, I think. 90,
Yeah.
90%.
The geeks say it's 77%, but yes, that would be the best. Either number would be the best.
Sure. I mean, how much of a when you play well and you kind of maybe look back at the Memphis game, how much is just making your bunnies the common denominator?
Yeah, I think it has been. I think we've also prioritized it in our practice itinerary. We've been very consistent in showing it to our team, even when sometimes that's a hard thing to show guys because every player thinks that they make every layup. And then when you start seeing the 1 footer falling away, one hand, and then you start practicing with somebody, multiple guys hitting you with a pad, I think we have steadily increased, and our percentage of possessions that are getting to the charge circle are staying the same. So that speaks to they're not getting there. We're still getting there, but we're getting there and finishing. And I think the other thing that I would say to that, and you know this, is that helps our offensive rebound percentage too. And I think it was 32% offensive rebound rate at Florida, 78% defensive rebound percentage. And then tonight it was, what was it, sweetie? 35%. No, it was 38 point what? Huh? Yeah, 38.7% offensive rebounding rate and 76% defensive rate. That can do a lot of good things when those percentages are that high because you can manipulate the game.
And then with talking about the guys making the layups, I think Dexter might have had the worst at the rim field goal percentage, and I mean he was lights out.
Yeah, and I just mentioned that to the radio guys. They were talking about Dex, and you know we do at the 8-minute media and the 4-minute media based on what our plan roster rotation was going to be in the first half. Throughout the game, we're doing a plus minus just on rebounding because I think it's so important to our team on both sides of the ball. Dex categorically is always plus minus on this. But when you look at the rebounding plus minus, his impact is astronomical. Even at Florida, he doesn't shoot well at all. And you look at the box score and you're like, man, he's not doing much. But he's doing so much because of the pressure that he puts on the rim on both sides of the ball. And like tonight, he has 6, but he really has about 16 because when he is so consistent in putting the pressure on the rim, now somebody has to try to block him out. And now that gives more to pick somebody, Henry, Jew, etc. And I think that who he is without the ball is as good as we've had since we've been here. Front of the press, guard the best player, keep the ball out of the paint. He just does so many things without the ball. And then when he makes shots, now all of a sudden it's like, whoa. And it has, you know this, it hasn't just been Dex that struggled at the rim. It's been everybody. But when he can make a 3 and have those finishes, I guess one of them would have been one that you or I could have made, but the rest of those finishes at the rim required his level of athleticism. He was in a really good mind frame on both sides of the ball.
So what does that say about Dex when he plays defense while holding a shoe as well?
Yeah, I probably said something I shouldn't have said, Brent, to the radio. Like, I don't that the possession should have been blown dead. Like, you saw him lose a shoe. The whole nation saw him lose a shoe. But I thought his response, he's the most mature guy that I've ever coached. But I thought collectively, our team's response when everybody realized we didn't flinch, and that was good. I was trying to help him find it and trying to help the officials stop, but I didn't help much.
Y'all had such a really good defensive game against Florida, and then you topped it in this game. Has just the light come on, or
I think what's happened is our staff has been as good as I've ever seen in my career of studying the opponent and understanding the opponent and then formulating a game plan and then figuring out of the game plan, what do we need to give the guys 2 days before? What do we need to give the guys 1 day before? What do we need to show them? What stats do they need to see? What clips do they need to see? And then what do we need to practice? And then 1 day before, okay, it needs to be the next layer of that from 2 days before. And then at shoot around, we need to give them a little bit more. And I think the cohesion, and I told our players this, they're aware of it. They just wouldn't say it in the way that I am. The cohesion of our offensive guys, the cohesion of our defensive guys, the cohesion of our personnel guys, and the cohesion of the guys that are advanced scouts, so to say, like the guys that are going ahead. Like I'll meet with them in an hour from now. Like the guys that are already studying Missouri, they're going to give that to me tonight so I can begin to study tomorrow and begin to catch up. I just think we've played really hard. We've played together. To some degree, we've played with great IQ. But I think that the prep from the coaches and what we're teaching, it's all of that combined. And I was telling the coaches before I spoke in the locker room to the team that as much as we hold our guys accountable, we have to continue to be held accountable as adults in making sure that what we're giving them is right relative to, like when I was young as an assistant, I would always pick a coach. I would tell Coach Gillespie, Coach, they run this, this, and this. And he would always say, I already know they'd run that. I already know. And I was like, well, Coach, I thought it was my scout. And so they run X, Y, and Z. And he would say, yeah, I know they run X, Y, and Z. How are we going to stop X, Y, and Z? Because that's what we need to practice. And I think our staff is doing a really good job of, we already know X, Y, and Z, but this is what we have to do, specific to 12 tonight, specific to 12 against Florida. We got to get to the traction that impacts winning in a game. And our staff and players have been elite at that through the first week of the season of SEC play.
From what you saw tonight, pressuring on defense, pressuring the ball full court, half court, just what do you feel like led to some of that success, some of those forced turnovers, 10-second, 5-second violations?
It's temperatures for us in the full court without saying things. They have smart coaches that are paid very well, so they listen to everything that I say. So we try to disguise what we're doing in the full court with various levels of temperature. And then we try to, even yesterday, show our guys the difference in temperatures so that the opponent feels that difference. And I thought tonight, just that question, I thought if there were 3 or 4 things that I would point to and go, what helped the most, I would say that would be in that grouping. Because I think they had 2 10-second calls.
I think so.
No, 2 5 seconds, 1 10 seconds.
1:10, 1:05, and then a shot clock.
Yeah.
There's 3 turnovers out of 15, and some of the 12 remaining came from the various temperatures in the full court.
How much growth do you think your team has exhibited tonight and just between games in general?
Well, I think that through 1 week of the season, or over the last 6 days, we've had great growth. And I think it's not the results, but I mentioned to them yesterday at the end of practice, that's what metamorphosis is. When a form changes, whether that's a plant, whether that's a person, whether that's a team, when it changes, naturally or supernaturally. And I'm proud of what they've done over the last 6 days, but as I mentioned to them in the locker room, I'm really excited about where we could continue to grow. And I think that's the key. We've started 4-0 before, and it's not about starting 4-0. It's, are we continuing to evolve and grow and mature? That's what I'm excited about.
you mentioned the trying to make your good guys be good at times before. Really condensed rotation today. Is that starting to take shape in that?
And we've been practicing about what you looked at right there. If you look at the minutes and you were say, there's 200 minutes, what percentage of minutes did Andy play? He played 5%, right? Okay, well then that's the way we should practice. And so similar to what I was talking about with our coaches in their prep, we have to find some consistency in the game, some consistency in our effort, some consistency in our rotation, some consistency in our practice itinerary, consistency in our prep in the film room, consistency in shooting with buzz and skill work in the morning. We've got to find consistency. And now when everybody knows, the young guys, the old guys, the ones that wear suits, the ones that wear uniforms, when everybody knows that consistently this is what you have to do in order to be held accountable, we should practice all of those things. We should practice all of it. We should practice it at shoot around. We should practice it in the film room. And the emotional energy required to do that is enormous. The mental energy is just as big. Like you have to be on mentally in order to continue to evolve. And I think that there's not been any confusion. And then I think because there hasn't been any confusion, that's why we can handle something unexpected. Henry turning his ankle, Dre turning his ankle, Mo breaking his hand. Like you can only handle things unplanned that are out of your control when there's been consistency along the way and there's no confusion. And I don't think that I understand it's still really early, but I don't think that there's been any confusion thus far.
Anything else?
Coach, it seemed like there was not really, from my memory, a huge stretch offensively where y'all weren't getting points. It seemed like y'all were fairly consistent and just creating offense. I'm curious if there's anything particularly you'd attribute to that, being able to finish in the paint, the defense?
I think our offensive coaches have done a really good job in one day before in showing our guys what it is that we do relative to how they defend those things, and then practicing those things so that the reads in the game are easier. We were 1.1 in the first half, 1.17 in the second half. That's as good as we've been in a long time. Now, we're offensive rebounding well. We're getting fouled at a high rate. There's a lot of factors involved. But to whatever I was just telling Travis, I just don't think that there's any confusion. Like they know these are, I don't have it with me, but this is the play catalog for tonight. And they already know why that's the play catalog, because that's what we've practiced and that's what they've seen.
All right, that's a wrap. Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you.